Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the A-Pod. Every single Wednesday, msgnetworks.com, iTunes, Google Play, wherever else you get your podcasts. My name is Ardo Cal. Thank you so much for downloading this episode, checking out the podcast, listening to it, subscribing to it on iTunes, rate and review as well. Helps the algorithm and others find this podcast. This is the viral edition of the A-Pod. I am absolutely fascinated with how things go viral online. In fact, I've actually been trying to find whether it's a psychologist or somebody who studies viral videos and memes. I would love to have somebody like that as a guest on the A-Pod in the future, just to understand how things go viral on the internet. Specifically, maybe with a sports slant, Crying Jordan. Why did that become a thing? How did that become a thing? The fact that we use it for sad moments predominantly on the internet when the image itself was from such a happy moment. Jordan's Hall of Fame induction ceremony. He's crying tears of joy, but the lasting image that we will ever have of that particular moment is a sad one just because it got so viral for the opposite reason online. It's fascinating to me. Also, how people become celebrities overnight. How do people become overnight sensations? Salt Bae, how did that happen? Why did that happen? Even in the hockey world, we have people who suddenly become a part of the team. The Rangers have Dance and Larry, for example. How on earth did that happen? How does Dance and Larry dance every third period? The same dance. People know it's coming. They look forward to it. People like that. I mean, we probably will have Dance and Larry on a future episode. I was actually trying to get him for this episode, but the timing didn't work out. But we will get him on a future episode. Penguins knitting lady. She sits... completely rightfully so, sits down, you paid for the ticket, you can do whatever you want, and she knits during the game. And she's explained that that's just what she does. As she's watching hockey, she knits. Totally cool. Got caught on the broadcast. Somebody found her on the broadcast, and it became this polarizing subject on Twitter. Hey, you can't be knitting while watching a hockey game. Sure I can. I can do whatever I want. So it's just so interesting to me how these things happen. The Green Men from the Vancouver Canucks playoff run. That's another one. Viral people that get their 15 minutes of fame or celebrity status just from being a fan in the audience. And that is exactly who our guest is on the podcast today. If you've been watching the playoffs, you have definitely seen him. Well, I mean, he's all over the internet, so you've absolutely seen him. But especially if you watched the Washington-Toronto first-round matchup, you know the name Dart Guy. His real name is Jason Maslakow. He is our guest on the A-Pod, and this is a fascinating discussion about somebody who was just a regular Joe working at a Toyota plant outside of Toronto, Ontario, traveling to a game, supporting his beloved Maple Leafs, and then all of a sudden becoming an overnight internet sensation. And then becoming a celebrity of sorts in the city of Toronto. And what that journey has been like. This is very interesting. So I am really looking forward to hearing your feedback on this one, because I had a lot of fun talking with Dart Guy. And also, I should say, the dart part of Dart Guy might change in the near future. So you definitely want to listen to this podcast, because he does make an announcement regarding his cigarette smoking. So definitely keep tuned in on the podcast, because he does make an announcement a little bit later in that interview. Let's get to our guest. The viral sensation, the face of the 2017 Stanley Cup playoffs, especially if you happen to be a fan of the Toronto Maple Leafs. He is known as Dart Guy, Jason Maslakow. Let's get to that interview right now. All right, I'm sitting at MSG Networks at 11 Penn, and on the line from Waterloo, Ontario, Canada, is the face of the 2017 NHL playoffs, at least if you're a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. He is better known as Dark Guy, and his name is Jason Maslakow. And boy, hasn't it been a whirlwind for you in the last couple of, the last month?
Yeah. Basically the last 4 weeks have been a complete whirlwind. It's been an absolute amazing ride, and I've been loving every minute of it.
So my first question is, how is progress on your statue for Legends Row at the Air Canada Centre going?
Well, if they wanted to put one up there, I mean, I wouldn't fight the idea, but I don't think that'll be happening anytime soon.
I'd love to see if people have taken pictures on social media with like Matt Sundin's statue putting a dart in his mouth, like stuff like that. I think that would be hilarious.
I've actually seen a couple along those lines already where somebody was holding up a cigarette to one of the guys' statues and whatnot. So it gave me a little bit of a chuckle for sure.
I want to go through the whole timeline on how this happened, but obviously when it happened, you basically became a meme, right? Like people were changing their profile pictures on Twitter to you, and they were making memes on the internet. What were some of your favorites that you saw?
Oh boy, there were so many that came out that had me laughing. But there was a clip somebody had done of the Terminator 2 movie there, where they had Ovechkin as T1, who was sent back in time to kill Austin Matthews as a kid, and they had me as Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator, sent out to protect him. That was one of my favorites, and the banner raising one where they put my face, and I think it was actually on Sundin's banner going up to the rafters. That was definitely at the top of the list too.
Oh man, that's clever. The Terminator one, that's hilarious. That's like multi-layered. That's clever.
Oh yeah, somebody put a lot of effort into that, and there's been some pretty creative people out there. So like I said, it's really hard to pick one because there was so many. Another one of them, and no disrespect to the late great Muhammad Ali, but there was one of me on his face, and that one I absolutely loved as well too.
Oh, nice. I think that the couple that stood out to me were you on Drake's album cover, where you're sitting on top of the CN Tower. I thought that one was pretty funny. And then the other one is someone put you on Canadian money. Like it was like a $10 bill or something. You were the face instead of like Wilfrid Laurier or whoever it was.
I took that a step further, and they actually printed off hundreds of them and were handing them out at Maple Leaf Square for the last couple games. There was people coming up to me with fake $5 bills with my face on it. And yeah, so somebody really went far with that one.
Are you serious? Wow.
Oh, yeah, they were printing them out. I've actually got a couple at home here that the guy who made them gave them to me and said, I want you to have a couple of these. So
that's phenomenal. You have a collector's item, man.
Some people went pretty quick with this. There's even there's like a 3D bust of my face that somebody had done with a 3D printer. So that one's pretty funny as well.
Oh, man. I can only imagine. We got to dive into how all of this happened. So let's start at the beginning. So you were born and raised in Sudbury, Ontario. Did you ever have any, like growing up, did you ever have any like desire to be in the public sphere at all?
Well, you know what? Like most Canadian kids growing up, I was a hockey fan, and my dream was to play in the NHL one day. So that if that would have worked out for me, that would have thrown me into the public eye. But I mean, I was never, looking for attention this way. I was hoping to be a professional hockey player.
Do you still play hockey now?
I do. I haven't played in a little while there. I've had a couple surgeries on my foot, so hopefully I'll be getting back on the ice soon.
Oh, you got a lower body injury, right? Like we can't divulge the nature of the injury.
Lower body injury to be more playoff friendly.
Exactly. So you live in Waterloo now, and what do you do?
I work for Toyota at a manufacturing plant here in the paint shop.
So what has the reaction been from your coworkers and your bosses about all of this?
Well, like I said, I'm actually off work right now because of the surgeries. So I actually haven't had a chance to really interact with too many of them. I had a couple of people reach out to me on Twitter and tell me I need to get back because they want their selfies. So.
Yeah, no kidding. During work, right? On the production line.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's been a little bit of irony thrown out there because of the face paint, and I actually work in the paint shop. So people were saying, of course he painted his face. That's what he does.
That's perfect. So so let's go to your Leafs fandom. When did you discover the Maple Leafs?
Oh, as far back as I can remember, when I first started watching hockey, Saturday night, hockey night in Canada, you're watching the Leafs, and I just gravitated to the sport of hockey right away when I was a kid, and I loved my Leafs right from the get-go.
Who were some of your early favorites? Who are some of the ones that hold near and dear to your heart?
Oh, you know what? I was always a big fan of, obviously, the Hound line there with Wendell Clark, Gary Leeman, and Russ Courtnall. They were some big favorites of mine. I was always a huge Ally Afraidy fan. And honestly, a forgotten name, I think, in Leafs history, but I think he was a great goalie, Alan Bester. I just loved Bester.
Wow, great name, too. Alan Bester. We had some great names on that Leafs, like the 80s. Dan Daou, Peter Ing, like the 80s and early 90s. Like, there's some great names there. I'll tell you the moment for me was when I finally got into broadcasting and did some stuff with the Marlies for a few years. One of the guys that I worked with was Bob McGill, and like in the back of my mind I was like, man, like I watched you play. What a surreal moment. Now I'm working with you and I watched you play as a kid. Like, it's amazing.
Kind of a surreal experience when you get that chance. A lot of these guys, Gary Leeman and Wendell Clark specifically, I grew up admiring, and I've had a chance to meet them in the last couple of weeks, and it was actually Wendell Clark wanted a picture with me. He had sent somebody from MLSE to come over and find me because he wanted a picture, and I was like, "You're kidding, right?" Like, when Wendell sent for me, this is crazy.
That's outstanding. I was going to ask you, like, what has the reaction been like from current and former players? Wendell's a perfect story. Have any of the current players like reached out to you and said, "Hey, man, like we love this"?
Absolutely. I had Matt Martin message me directly on Twitter and basically expressed his enjoyment for watching everything and appreciation for how much support I had for the Leafs, and that was pretty cool. And another big one was a little bit of a former player, Ty Domi, reached out to me and has been shooting the breeze with me quite often over the last 3 weeks, and that's been pretty surreal because I got a whole bunch of his memorabilia in my basement. So
that's awesome. Like Ty is having a busy offseason, or playoffs, I mean, despite maybe Max not being in the playoffs. He must be traveling a lot because I see him. I have seen him at Madison Square Garden attending games. Like, he's attended Ranger playoff games. I guess he's in Toronto doing stuff. Like, he's a busy guy.
Oh, yeah. It certainly seems like that. I actually, when he started reaching out to me, I had to take my shot and ask him if he wanted to go out for dinner and a drink one night. But he was pretty busy, so he had to politely decline. So.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, hey, at least you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, Dark Guy.
Well, you know what? That was the quote I actually used in the invite to him. I said, I know it's a long shot, but as Gretzky would have said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, so here it is. You want to go for dinner, but.
So, the moment is at Washington. You are in Washington going to this game. How long had you been traveling to Leafs away games before this?
I've gone to a couple, but it wasn't really a regular occurrence. For me, I mean, if I was going somewhere and the opportunity arose that Toronto was going to be there at the same time, then, pick up tickets. But this trip was specific because it's playoff hockey. I mean, it's the playoffs, man.
Did you go to Boston in 2012?
No. Boston, I watched most of the games from my camp sitting around the
fire. Nice. That's a great way to watch hockey.
Yeah, I can't complain. You got the TV on the deck and a couple cold drinks around the fire. It's a great time.
Did you do the whole get up, like the face paint, the Stanley Cup-mohawk? Like, how long have you been doing that at games?
Honestly, this was probably about the second or third time I had actually done that. I went to the draft in Buffalo in June when we had the pleasure of taking Matthews first overall. And I had put 2 Leafs in the side of my head with a big blue mohawk and the blue beard again for that to, have a little fun and maybe troll the Sabres fan base just a little bit. And when I was going down to Washington, there was no way I wasn't going to do it up for my Leafs after such a great year they had. They needed to know they had support in Washington.
Were you one of the guys that had the Austin 316 signs at the draft?
I've actually got Austin 316 license plates on my vehicle.
Get out of here. Seriously?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, man.
Yes, I do.
Now everyone's gonna know who Dark Guy's driving down the highway on the 401. That's amazing.
Yeah, I wasn't ever going to say that, but a couple people took pictures of me and had my license plate in the background, so they were on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram already. So it's pretty much not a secret anymore. Yeah, they read AM 316.
We need Austin Matthews to see this. I hope he has. I hope he responds. That's hilarious.
You know what? That would be a dream come true. You know, like I was a big fan of everything going on when I saw we got that first overall pick. You could just tell that how great of a guy Austin was, how down to earth and mature he was for his age. So if there was one guy I could definitely meet right now from the Leafs or have a chat with, it would definitely be him. Am
I dreaming? Did you take a picture with his parents?
His parents, absolutely, yes. Stopped me outside of a bar just outside of the ACC there, the Real Sports Bar. I was on my way out for a dart, as Dart Guy would be, and his parents kind of hustled down the hallway a little bit and said, excuse me, and can we have a picture? I felt embarrassed because, I know who his parents are. I've seen them 1,000 times, but when they first approached me, I didn't recognize them right off the bat. I had met thousands of people that day. So I was just like, yeah, absolutely, I'll take a picture with you. And Austin's father kind of leaned over. I had my Austin Matthews jersey, and he said, number 34 on your shirt there? I said, yeah. He goes, that's my son. I took a step back, and the light bulb went off, and then I looked over at Mrs. Matthews. I'm like, oh, my God, it is them.
That's outstanding. And then they wanted to take a picture with you. How crazy is that?
Yeah. You know what? It was probably one of the most surreal experiences of this whole journey I've been on. It's when you got somebody like Austin Matthews of his profile and his parents are wanting to take a picture with you, that would be a dream come true for any Leafs fan. So.
I know you've taken hundreds of pictures. One of them is actually one of my best friends. I got a text message before game. I think it was game 4. He was just walking around and he happened to see you and you guys snapped a picture and he sent it to me and he was like, look who I met. This is the best. I was like, I can't believe this. And he's in his mid-30s. I need to just preface that. I thought it was hilarious that I got this text message. He's basically fanboying over the fact that he met Dark Guy, which was like the funniest thing.
Well, you know what? Honestly, that's been one of the strangest things about all of this. And it's like, my wife and I had talked about this really quickly. It's like, the demographic of the people that are really going like, boy band crazy with this are 25 to 50-year-old males. And it's my wife and I were struggling to think of like, when have you ever seen one individual be able to turn, grown men into, like 15-year-old girls in a room with Justin Bieber?
Yeah, no kidding.
So it's been a little bit of an interesting, demographic that it's like, it'd be an interesting psychology class, I guess, to try and figure out why this happened,
Yeah, I'm trying to think about it. I get my best guess would be because, first of all, the Toronto Maple Leafs fan base is starved in terms of playoff competition in the last 10 years. And I guess the last time Leaf fans were all invested in a playoff matchup, other than 2012, was so long ago that we were 10 or 12 years younger, and a lot of them were teenagers or even kids. So maybe that's and you essentially, really, you became the beacon of hope for the team. You were the unofficial mascot. Like, you were the person that people turned to and said, this guy's leading the charge on the fan side. You became, whether you wanted to or not, the super fan that the entire fan base needed, Yeah.
Well, I never set out for that, but like I said, this would have been a dream come true for any Leafs fan. So for something like that to happen to me, it was a complete honor, and it was very humbling to have people saying, you're our guy, you're our good luck charm, you're our mascot. It was the next best, closest thing to actually, signing a contract and stepping on the ice with a Leaf on my chest. So.
I was going to say that at this point, the Maple Leafs organization, they gave you tickets to Game 3. I hope that they have some sort of like ambassador role ready for you next season or something.
Well, I would definitely accept and listen to any offers that they would have. I do believe that, they were maybe a little bit hesitant to move forward. There was some negative feedback, a little stigma around the smoking thing. So, but I'm hoping, like I said, I'm on a journey to quit smoking. So hopefully come October next year at the start of the season, I can give him a call and say, you know what, Dark Guy quit smoking, and maybe we can do something here.
Oh, that's interesting. So what happened now is you... Like, the attention that you received based on the cigarette portion of your fame has now caused you to want to quit smoking?
Well, there's a gentleman up here who has a show on Sirius XM. His name's Todd Shapiro.
Yeah.
And he actually challenged me live on air to quit smoking. And the offer was made, it's going to be for a tournament called Road Hockey to Conquer Cancer, where they donate their money to Princess Margaret Foundation for cancer. And basically, if I was able to quit smoking by the time this tournament rolled around, there's $11,000 in donations on the table that are going to go in my name. For everything that's going on, if I can turn this into a positive and raise some money for charity while quitting, bettering myself and my health, and hopefully helping a few others do the same, I absolutely have to do it.
Well, shout out to Todd Shapiro. That's a really cool challenge that he just laid down there. That's turning a negative into a positive in a great way.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And there was very, very limited negative feedback, but there were the people who were saying it looked like we were glorifying smoking, and that the Leafs were glorifying smoking, and so I had so much respect for the Leafs fan base and the Leafs organization that if I could flip this into a positive for everybody involved, I wanted to do that, and I'm glad I've been given that platform to do so.
Okay, I want to get into the moment now, the moment that you became a sensation. So here we are, Game 1 at the Verizon Center. You're in the audience. Your face is painted. I'm assuming even before you got on the broadcast, Leaf fans are coming up to you and being like, that's awesome, and the Stanley Cup-mohawk is really cool, and the Leafs on the back, the shaved Leafs in the back of your head is amazing. Like, you're getting this reaction from the fans, I'm assuming.
Yeah, absolutely. The minute I stepped out of the cab, as a matter of fact, from our hotel over to the Verizon Center, the minute I got out of the cab, there was a group of Leaf fans there, and they just started going bonkers. It started. Yeah, you're right. It was basically immediately as soon as I got to the arena.
And what was the reaction from Caps fans?
You know what? Have to give the Caps fans 100% full credit. That fan base was amazing. Obviously, I didn't expect to walk into an arena look like that and not catch some chirps and some playful jabs, and that was definitely happening very often. But the Caps fans were also very respectful and very welcoming of, just my passion for my team. So I was very surprised at how accepting the fans were of it.
So when did the actual moment happen on the broadcast? What period? Do you remember?
You know what? No. And I've got the game PVR'd, and I've been so busy, I haven't even had a chance to kind of rewatch it. So the exact moment when they threw me up with the dart in my mouth, I don't exactly remember when it was, no.
I'd love to know how soon after that. Like, did all of a sudden at some point in the night your phone blow up with text messages and tweets?
Well, it actually did, but I did not know. I mean, I drove to Washington to watch a hockey game. I wasn't pulling out my phone to see why people were messaging me. I was focused in on a very good hockey game that my Leafs ended up winning. So I didn't know until a gentleman, Dan Streisberg, came down and asked me for an interview.
That was the first time you had realized this? Somebody had come down to you randomly just for an interview?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, wow.
He came down and said, would I be able to sit down with you, ask you a couple questions? And I looked at him. I said, I have no idea why you would want to, but sure, I'm game.
So at that point, you had no idea you were on the broadcast. You just thought maybe that he saw you as a passionate Leafs fan and just wanted to talk to you about that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh,
that was my first, reaction. Okay, the guy saw a painted Leafs fan here. He's going to ask me if I drove from Toronto, that type of thing, right? He pulled out his phone and he said, like, this is what's happening on Twitter right now, and he started showing me stuff, and I was like, oh my God.
So tell me about the moment you checked your phone then. Like, how many messages had you missed after the game, and did your Twitter suddenly get like thousands of new followers?
Oh, absolutely. By the end of the game, my Twitter account had already jumped up by a couple thousand. The messages in my inbox from Facebook and email and stuff, they were so backed up that my phone wasn't even loading them anymore because they were just coming in so fast, and I guess my phone couldn't update quick enough.
So you get this one random interview request during the game that basically starts everything. How many interview requests did you get the next day?
The next day, I would say I must have done 30 on the first day alone. Yeah, or if I didn't do them that day, they were booked for the next day. But the requests that were coming in nonstop on my drive home from Washington. Yeah.
Wow. Were you there for Game 2 as well?
No, it was Game 2 that this happened.
It happened at Game 2. Okay, so then that spurned Game 3 and Game 4. Okay, so you're driving home, and this is all happening. What does your family think? What does your wife think of this?
Oh, my wife is she's been so happy for me. She knew what she was getting into when we got married, when we got together. She knows how passionate of a Leafs fan I am and how much I love hockey and sports in general. So she's been over the moon happy for me. She knows that I'm loving it, and it's making her happy to see that.
So now Game 3 rolls around. It's at home. You're walking around Maple Leaf Square. Like, how early did you get there? Did you envision the amount of people that would come up to you for pictures?
I had an idea that, there was going to be some people wanting some pictures. I couldn't have fathomed, though, the response I did get. I got absolutely swarmed, and by all means, not complaining. I loved it. It was mind blowing. I couldn't walk 5 feet without somebody wanting a picture.
That's amazing. And there were even like big cardboard cutouts of your head, I think, at Maple Leaf Square. Yeah.
A gentleman had managed to get one that was I don't know. It had to have been about 3 feet by 2 feet or whatever. It was pretty big.
Did you get to the point where even when your face paint was off, I guess because of the hair, but even if the face paint is off, were people recognizing you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. For the first day or so, not so much. Once the face paint came off, I was able to get around in relative anonymity, but it didn't take very long to the point where even if I had a hat on covering the hair and I had the sunglasses on, people were still, "You're Dark Guy."
That's amazing. So Game 3, you were an official invitee of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Did they do anything else with you? Like, did they show you around? Did you get to meet players that day?
Unfortunately, no, but the invite was more than generous enough on its own. They didn't have to do that. And they took a chance, like I said, with the cigarettes, of catching a little bit of negative feedback. So I was very appreciative of the tickets from the Maple Leafs.
So Game 4, you were there with another legend in radio broadcasting in Toronto, Rick Derringer. What was that like?
Yeah. John Derringer had actually reached out to me on Twitter and said, "You know what? I think you're a beauty, and I want to take you to the game." So 100% class act. I had heard nothing but good things about him going into it, and it was all confirmed. Just a salt of the earth, good old great guy.
Yeah, John, if you're listening to this, I apologize. John, not Rick. Rick is a musician. John is the legendary radio broadcaster in Toronto. So you didn't go to Game 5 in Washington. Did you almost go? Like, at that point, were you itching to go?
I wanted to go, and there was an offer to go, actually. A gentleman had won 2 tickets through a contest through the Maple Leafs. That he got 2 flights, 2 tickets, and a hotel room to in Washington to go to the game. And he offered to take me. He said, "You know what? I want to take Dark Guy to that game." And unfortunately, it took too long for me to respond to him. So by the time I got back to him and said, "You know what? I am going to go with you," he already had to submit the second person's information. So I kind of missed out on that one, but no big deal. I watched from Maple Leaf Square with the rest of the Leafs Nation, so that was a lot of fun.
Oh, wow. So you were in the crowd. You embraced it. You were there among the big crowd.
Absolutely. If I couldn't be at the game, the next best place for me was in the trenches with the rest of the diehards. So I made sure that's where I was.
I love that. That's awesome. I love the passion, man. That's so cool. What about Game 6?
Game 6, I attended with Todd Shapiro, and again, I ended up getting tickets from the Maple Leafs for that game as well.
Wow, good for them. Good for them. I love the fact that they embraced this. This is great.
Well, yeah, there was a scenario. I mean, I had 2 tickets for Game 6 already, and there was a gentleman. His story came out, and he had gotten scammed online trying to buy tickets for the game. Somebody said, I have tickets. You have to pay me in advance, and I'll come and drop them off, type thing. He gave the guy $800. The guy never showed up, turned his phone off, and that was it. So when I heard that story, I actually gave him my 2 tickets.
Act of kindness. I like that. That's awesome.
Just trying to pay it forward. So I was just fortunate enough that in the end the Maple Leafs came through and got me 2 more tickets, because if not, I would have missed another great game. But I had to help the guy out when I heard his story, and I'm glad it worked out for all of us.
I love hearing how humble you are, man. Like, some people might take this, newfound fame and use it to their advantage, but I really like how grounded you are, man. That's really cool. I got to say, that's cool.
I appreciate that. I mean, I was just an average Joe before all of this happened, and I'll be an average Joe when it's all over. So I'm not going to change who I am because of a little bit of good fortune.
So let me ask you that. I mean, people always throw around like 15 minutes of fame, whatever. Next season starts. Like, what would you like to have accomplished from all this, or where would you like it all to go?
Well, you know what? I am definitely realizing that my opportunity, I'm never going to be presented with a better opportunity to get into a job in hockey on any platform than I've been given right now. So, I'm really hoping that I'll be able to somehow, on any platform, whether it's writing, radio, broadcasting, anything, scouting, I don't care if I'm an equipment manager for a team, I would just love to really hopefully parlay this into a job in hockey, and I can go to work every day doing something I'm passionate about.
So what would so you mentioned some departments there. Is there one in particular that you think you'd fit really well in a hockey capacity?
Well, you know what? I kind of do. Beyond being a super fan, I am very knowledgeable in the game, and that's one part where I'll toot my own horn a little bit. I really do know the game, and I do believe if I was into scouting or perhaps commentary of some sort, I could probably be pretty successful.
All right, well, let's put that to the test then. Give me your analysis on who's going to win the Stanley Cup.
Okay. All right. Well, I had hopes, obviously, for my Leafs to win, but every one of us did. Now we know that's not going to happen. I'm looking at the Anaheim Ducks and Pittsburgh Penguins being in the finals. You just got too much talent and experience on both of those teams. Sidney Crosby can turn around a series on his own, even at 50%. So I think the Senators are going to be in real tough there with them. And, again, the same with Anaheim. Nashville really hasn't had a track record of taking that next step in the playoffs. So I can see Anaheim's experience and their hard hitting taking away some of Nashville's speed and taking that series over.
There was one thing I actually listened to Game 6 in the Toronto radio feed through the NHL app. So it was nice to hear Joe Bowen's voice again. And one thing that he said after the series ended was he thought that the Toronto Maple Leafs stole the Stanley Cup away from Washington, in that the series was so gritty and so difficult for the Capitals that he thought that the Capitals could not muster enough energy or willpower to make it to the Stanley Cup Finals and win. What did you think after that series and how the Leafs played against the Capitals? And did you think that the Capitals had what it took to make it to anywhere beyond the second round?
No, I absolutely have to agree with Joe Bowen. You know what? Washington's had such a track record of not being able to do it when it counts in the playoffs. They've never made it past that second round hump in the playoffs. So, like Joe was saying, I agree with that 100%. They went in President's Trophy winners. They probably had a little confidence, and they upstart Leafs is going to be no problem. But all it took was that it's in the back of their head. We can't fail again. We can't do it, and that doubt's going to be in the back of their head after their track record. The minute they started getting some pushback from the Leafs, you could see at times where it was just like the look on their faces, like, this isn't happening to us again type thing. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure Joe was right that, the pushback they got from the Leafs kind of sealed their fate, whether, even though they won the series, they weren't going to be advancing past a strong Pittsburgh Penguins team.
Well, buddy, I hope a hiring manager is listening to this because we're putting the good vibes in the universe that some hockey job comes your way in the near future.
Well, you know what? Like I said, I would take on any platform I was offered, whether, like I said, scouting, writing, TV, radio. I'd be open for any discussion.
Well, a couple more questions for you. You've been very gracious with your time. We appreciate that. And I know that you're still getting a lot of interview requests. So now, after the Leafs are out of the playoffs, you've actually continued the Toronto playoffs. You're still on that train with not only the Toronto Rock, but also the Mississauga Steelheads in the OHL, which is near and dear to my heart because I used to do games for the St. Michael's Majors when they were in Mississauga. So I love the OHL connection. So how's that been? How's that experience been?
You know what? It's been just as enjoyable for me. I've always been a big Toronto sports fan. The Toronto Rock, I've been a big fan of theirs ever since we came into the National Lacrosse League there. And the Mississauga Steelheads was a little bit of a different scenario. I was kind of invited out by some of their fan base to come and watch. And being a big, growing up in Sudbury, I was a big OHL fan, so I took the opportunity to go, and it just it was an instant love affair with the team. Great bunch of younger guys, amazing organization there, and they won me over real quick.
Did you grow up a Sudbury Wolves fan?
Absolutely, I did.
Nice. Okay, so it would have been an awkward situation if you were
If they were playing the Wolves, for sure. Yes, it would have been.
They invite you.
2 Wolves jerseys here.
They invite you to the game. They didn't tell you what jersey to wear. You show up in a Wolves jersey, Wolves face paint.
Yeah, that could have been a little embarrassing for them, but no, it worked out well. Since I had moved down south, I really hadn't been able to get behind one of the southern teams in my area, whether it was Guelph or the Rangers. I didn't feel that connection. I didn't feel that whatever it is that made me want to go all out for them. And the Steelheads brought me out into the fold there, and it was, like I said, it was a mutual admiration right off the bat, and it was a no-brainer fit for me. Steel fans head for life now.
Nice. 2 more questions for you, Dart Guy. Actually, the second last question is about the name Dart Guy. So what happens when you quit smoking and this contest is won, or the challenge is won? What happens to the nickname?
Well, you know what? There's a few ways I could go with that. I could turn it into Smart Guy for, doing the smart thing and quitting smoking for my health and everything. But I actually do enjoy playing darts. So I think there's a way we can keep Dart Guy around, or whether it's because I play darts, or even if it's just that's what the fan base has ran with, and I think that's going to be able to live on even after I quit smoking.
Nice. Okay, so you got a different dart connection. All right, it's good to know. That's good to know. So the last question is, when this all dies down, and let's say the job in hockey, we're all hoping for it. It's looming. It's coming in the future. But what will your memory be of this whole thing? When you go back to work and you go back to your normal life.
That's a big question. I don't know if we have enough time to answer that totally, but the memory is just going to be how supportive and how much love and respect I got from all of Leafs Nation. My friends and family, how happy they were for me. It's just it's that much more enjoyable for me when I know other people are getting enjoyment out of it. And I think that's just going to be the biggest thing, is looking back and saying, I was treated with respect by not only Leafs Nation, but by a lot of other teams' fan bases as well, and you don't often see that. So,
well, Dart Guy, when I come to Toronto next, we're playing darts.
Sounds like a plan. Drinks and dinner will be on me, Arda.
Thanks for your time.
The honor was all mine. Thank you so much for having me today.
So there you have it, a very interesting conversation with Jason Maslakow, a.k.a. Dart Guy. Let's put those good vibes and positive thoughts into the universe that he will, in fact, one day get a job in hockey. That'd be cool. Maybe the Steelheads will offer him a scouting position, or maybe with the equipment department. Who knows? or maybe another OHL team, maybe an NHL team. Who knows? We're putting those vibes in the universe. And I'm really glad that Jason is using his newfound fame for good. Hashtag acts of kindness. That is awesome. So thank you very much for listening to hashtag the A-Pod. As you know, it drops every single Wednesday on msgnetworks.com, on iTunes, Google Play, and other pod catchers. And we'll be back next Wednesday. So thanks for listening, and have a great week, everyone.